Hello everyone and welcome to Lang Academy. In this episode, we are going to travel to one of the most famous cities in the world. A city that never sleeps. Yes, today we are talking about New York City. But we are not going to talk about the tall buildings, Central Park, or Times Square. Instead, we are going to solve a mystery. Why do people call New York City the Big Apple? Think about it for a moment. It is a very strange nickname, isn't it? New York is a concrete jungle, not an apple orchard. There are no giant apple trees growing on Broadway. So, where did this name come from? Many people think it has something to do with the history of immigration, or maybe a secret message. But the real story is different, and it is very interesting. Sit back, relax, and listen carefully to the history of the Big Apple. To find the origin of the name, we have to travel back in time. We need to go back more than 100 years ago, to the early 1920s. At that time, there was a man named John J. Fitz Gerald. John was a sports writer for a newspaper called the New York Morning Telegraph. He did not write about politics or art. He wrote about horse racing. In 1921, John went to a racetrack in New Orleans, Louisiana. While he was there, he visited the stables and talked to some African American stable hands. He heard them talking about the horse races in New York City. They were very excited. One of them said, "Our horses love New York." To them, New York is the Big Apple. What did they mean by that? In the world of horse racing, New York was the place with the biggest racetracks, the biggest crowds, and the most prize money. If you won a race in New York, you made a lot of money. It was the ultimate prize. John Fitz Gerald loved this expression. When John returned to New York, he decided to use this phrase in his newspaper column. On February 18, 1921, he wrote about the Big Apple around New York. Later, he named his entire sports column Around the Big Apple. Thanks to his articles, other writers and sports fans started using the name. So, the first step of our story begins not with fruit, but with fast horses and sports journalism. A few years later, in the 1930s, the phrase moved from the sports world to the music world. Musicians from all over the United States wanted to play in New York. They wanted to perform in famous jazz clubs in Harlem and Manhattan. Just like the jockeys before them, jazz musicians started using the phrase, the Big Apple. For them, playing a concert in a small town was like playing in the twigs, which means small tree branches. But playing in New York City was playing in the Big Apple. There was an old saying among show business professionals at the time. They used to say, "There are many apples on the tree, but only one Big Apple." This meant that while there were many cities in America, New York was the biggest, the most important, and the most exciting place to be. If you were a musician or an actor, making it to New York meant you had reached the top of your career. It meant success, money, and fame. During this time, people even invented a dance called the Big Apple. And a famous jazz song had the same title. The nickname became a symbol of the cool, fast-paced, and exciting lifestyle of the city. However, names can be forgotten. In the 1950s and 1960s, people stopped using the nickname the Big Apple. Very much. The phrase became old-fashioned. Furthermore, during the late 1960s and early 1970s, New York City had many problems. The city's reputation was ruined. New York needed help. In 1971, the city leaders decided to create a massive tourism campaign. They wanted to change the image of New York and bring tourists back. The head of the campaign, a man named Charles Gillette, remembered the old nickname from the jazz era. He thought the Big Apple sounded bright, fresh, cheerful, and welcoming. The city started putting the image of a red apple everywhere. They made red apple pins, red apple t-shirts, and posters. The campaign was a huge success. Millions of tourists came back to the city. They bought the t-shirts, wore the pins, and started calling the city the Big Apple. This campaign permanently fixed the name in the minds of people all around the world. Today, even if people do not know the history of horse racing or jazz, they know exactly which city you mean when you say the Big Apple. So, now you know the true story. The nickname started with stable hands at a horse racetrack, grew popular thanks to jazz musicians, and became world famous because of a clever marketing campaign. It is a story about big dreams, success, and the spirit of a great city. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever been to New York City? Or would you like to visit the Big Apple one day? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends who are learning English. See you in the next episode. Have a wonderful day, and keep practicing your English. Bye-bye.